Hey everyone, and welcome. We're going to dive into some amazing research material from Dr. Sujendra S.G., and this one's designed specifically for you, the teachers and educators out there. We're going to unplug things, demystify some of the core ideas in computer science. All right, here's the plan. We're going to start with the absolute basics. What is an algorithm? Then we'll get into why being efficient is a huge deal. After that, we'll look at two different ways to sort stuff, one kind of slow, one super fast. Then, we'll figure out how your GPS finds the best route, and we'll wrap it all up by talking about how to pick the right tool for the right job. All right, first things first. When we throw around this word algorithm, what are we actually talking about? Let's nail down a really simple definition. So, at its heart, an algorithm is really just a set of instructions. It's that simple. Think about it like a recipe. The recipe gives you step-by-step instructions to bake a cake, right? Well, an algorithm gives a computer the step-by-step instructions to solve a problem. Nothing more, nothing less. And this is where it gets really interesting. You know how you can have a bunch of different recipes for the same chocolate cake? Some are simple, some are complicated. Well, the same thing is true for algorithms. You can have multiple ways to solve the exact same problem. But, and this is the big but, some of those ways are going to be way faster and easier than others.
Okay, so that naturally leads to the next big question, right? If some recipes are faster than others, how do we actually measure that? How do we compare them in a way that makes sense?
The key idea here is something we call efficiency. And it's not about how fast your computer's processor is. Nope, it's all about how the algorithm scales. In other words, what happens to the amount of work when the problem gets bigger? What's the difference between sorting, say, 10 student papers versus 10,000? To talk about this, computer scientists use this special thing called Big O notation. Now, don't let the name scare you. It's just a way to describe the trend. It's not about timing things with a stopwatch, it's about understanding the growth rate. Does the work just double, or does it explode?
And this chart, wow, it really shows you what I mean. See that bar on the left? That's nice, steady, linear growth. But that bar on the far right, that's quadratic growth. That's the one that just explodes. The amount of work skyrockets as the problem gets bigger. And the difference between that one and the more efficient ones, well, that's what this is all about.
Just to give you a sense of what that means. For one of those inefficient algorithms, if you just increase the number of items by 10 times, say from 10 to 100, the work required can jump by 100 times, not 10, but 100. And that is exactly why picking the right algorithm is so important.
Okay, let's get our hands dirty with a real example. We'll start with what we call a brute force approach. It's straightforward, and it's actually something you could easily teach in a classroom with a simple deck of cards. It's called selection sort.
So, picture this. You've got a stack of numbered cards all jumbled up. The way selection sort works is you look through the entire stack to find the smallest number. You pick it out and you put it in the first position. Then you look through the rest of the cards, find the next smallest, and put it in the second position. You just keep doing that. It's simple, yeah? But think about how many times you have to scan through the cards.
So, let's talk complexity. Because you have to go through the list for pretty much every single card you place, you end up with a loop running inside another loop. And in Big O terms, that means the work grows quadratically. It's n times n, or O of n squared. This is our exploding bar from the chart. It works, but it's not pretty for big lists.
Okay, so that's the brute force method. Simple, but slow. So, what's a smarter way to do it? Well, let's check out a much more efficient algorithm called merge sort. It uses this really powerful strategy called divide and conquer.
Instead of just plowing through the list again and again, merge sort is way more clever. It takes the big, messy list and just splits it in half. And then it splits those halves in half. It keeps splitting until it has a ton of tiny little lists with only one item in them. And a list with one item, well, that's already sorted, right? Then, the magic happens when it starts merging those tiny sorted lists back together, step by step, until you have one perfectly sorted list.
And this is a total game changer. This divide and conquer approach gives us a much better growth trend. We're talking O(n) log n. And trust me, when you're dealing with huge amounts of data, the difference between O(n) squared and O(n) log n it's just night and day. It's unbelievably faster.
So here's the side-by-side comparison. They both get the job done, right? They both sort the cards, but their strategies are from different planets. You've got brute force on one side, just scanning over and over, and on the other, you have this elegant divide and conquer strategy. And that fundamental difference in approach is why their efficiency, it's just worlds apart. Okay, so we've talked about sorting. Now let's take these same ideas about efficiency and apply them to a totally different problem. This is a problem that you use every single day, probably without even thinking about it. It's what powers every map app on your phone, finding the shortest path.
Before we get into the algorithm, we need to know what a graph is in computer science. And no, I'm not talking about a bar chart. A graph is just a way to represent connections. You've got nodes, which you can think of as cities, and edges connecting them, which are like the roads. And each road can have a weight or a cost, like how many minutes it takes to drive.
All right, so how do we find the shortest route? One of the most famous ways is called Dijkstra's algorithm. It's so cool. It starts at your location, your home city, then it starts exploring outwards, kind of like a ripple in a pond. At every step it asks, okay, of all the places I can get to, which unvisited city is the absolute closest? It goes there, and then it updates the travel times for that city's neighbors. It just keeps repeating that process, find the cheapest next step, update its neighbors, until it's found the best route to everywhere.
So, there you have it. We've looked at a couple of sorting algorithms and a pathfinding one. This brings us to the most important question of all, the one you'd want your students to ask. How do you know which tool to pull out of the toolbox?
And this table really lays it all out. There is no single best algorithm that wins every time. It all depends on the job. You got a tiny list to sort? You know what? The simple selection sort is totally fine. But if you have a massive database, you absolutely need the efficiency of merge sort. And if you're building a map, Dijkstra's is your specialized tool. Each one has its place. And really, that's the big idea to take back to your classroom. Understanding how these algorithms work, and more importantly, how they scale, isn't just some abstract computer science trivia. In a world where we're creating more data every single second, knowing how to choose the right, most efficient solution, that is a fundamental skill for solving the huge problems we face today and the even bigger ones we'll face tomorrow.